I'm going to put it to you straight. The moment somebody learns that I live in an intentional community, I open myself up to some very interesting questions. Question number 1. So, how many husbands do you really have? Question number 2. Who here is the leader? I've even had somebody come up to me at one point and say, "Are you able to leave? Just blink if you need my help, and I'll come get you." There's another impression about somebody who lives in an intentional community, and that is that we must be very great at creating bonfires, we must all play guitar, and we spend most of our evenings passing the dochi to the left-hand side. Now, don't get me wrong, those communities do exist. In fact, they're everywhere. However, today I'm wanting to kind of deepen and broaden an aspect of living in an intentional community that perhaps is overseen. Or even worse, it just kind of lies right underneath the skirt of vulnerability. So let me give you a little bit of context. January of 2011, 10 people came together in a San Diego living room and asked one very simple question. What if we raised our kids together? And I'll tell you, of these 10 people, some of us were friends, and some of us didn't even know each other. But we had 2 things in common. Number 1, we are absolutely 100% committed to improving our mind, our body, our spirit, and pushing ourselves to become better humans. And number 2, we have no issues in calling attorneys to write up proper agreements. You don't get those together too often. Fast forward, that was January. Fast forward, by May, we moved on to the Emerald Village. 9 acres. At the time, 10 adults, 7, or at that time, 6. I was actually 7 months pregnant. So let me put it to you this way. Today, 9 acres, 10 founders, 7 children, 2 teenagers, a number of guest residents, chickens, goats, rabbits, gardens, food forests. And when people come to visit our community, they're like, look at the kids. They're playing and climbing on trees. Look, Daddy, gopher snake. Look, Daddy, I'm up in the tree with a bunch of poison ivy. Or they see our tables, and they see our tables full of food, and they see us laughing, and they see us looking at each other and having heart connection with each other. And there's this assumption that we get all the time where people are like, you know what, this is how people are supposed to live. And I'm going to tell you right now, there is something that is not seen. The reason why I can look at my brothers and my sisters with heartfelt love is because they have seen me in my absolute worst. They have seen me rage. They have seen me cry. They have witnessed me fighting with my husband. They have witnessed me fail. And that's something that we don't really get in society to do. I am loved because somebody has loved me through my ugliness. And I want you to think about like Facebook. You know, how many people look how, 52 characters or pictures of how great my life is. Imagine if you were to share with people on a daily basis the truth. And that is what living in community is really about. You are naked. You cannot hide. You get truly seen in all different ways, shapes, and forms that you show up. And I will tell you, many, many people choose to walk away because it's just too much. But I'm wanting to share with you today, and I'm wanting to encourage you to stay. Not in an intentional community if it's not your thing, but I'm wanting you to stay in community. And don't think for one moment that just because you don't live in an intentional community that you are void of community. I mean, look around this room. Look at your churches. Look at your places of work. There is community there. The only difference is that we may choose to unplug from that community, go home, check out, and then check in, fresh cup of coffee. Hi, Bob. Happy-go-lucky. But what if we pushed ourselves to have a more intimate relationship? So, one thing that we've had to do at the Emerald Village is we've had to bring on mediation on a quarterly basis. 4 times a year, we invite somebody to come and uncover our shit, even if we don't know it's there. We have to take personal ownership over our relations. We've had people come in with, nonviolent communication. We've had family marriage therapists come in. We've had people come and teach us holographic models. We've had people come in and teach us the Enneagram. We've had people come in, and we're constantly giving and giving and giving to ourselves so that we can show up as better people in our community. And that is something that every person, even if you don't live in a community, you have to do. Why? Because we live in a world right now where we can say things like friend, unfriend. Swipe, I'm done. Follow, unfollow. Black and white. It's superficial. And there's somebody, and not somebody, there's something that is greatly impacted by that. And that is our future. So at the Emerald Village, and we've started to invite our children, the age from 1, all the way up to 17. And we've invited our children to sit and counsel with us. Now, I was thinking about this past week. The number 2 cause of death in teenagers is suicide. And I'm thinking how alone they must feel, how unseen they may be. And I'm wanting to encourage us to pull up more tools of communication so that when we see a teenager or a child that is sitting alone, that our antennas come up and we can approach them and not try to fix them. That's the last thing teenagers want. Don't try to fix them. We have to push ourselves even further. We have to be able to truly hear. We have to hear from our heart space, not just what they say, but really have empathy for what it is that they're going through. And I think of the teenagers at our community, and I remember seeing them when they're, just coming into teenagehood, and as they're growing into young adults. And something really beautiful is happening because they can come walking into my house because they know that they can talk to me, and they'd be like, "Hey, Mama B, put everything down. What's going on, buddy? Well, I did this and I did that. Yeah? What was your favorite part? What were you challenged by?" I don't ask them anymore, "How was your day? What did you like?" I ask them more internalizing questions so they can grow and become stronger people, so that they learn to understand themselves even more, what their values are and what their passions are, and so that I can bear witness to them. And I've been so fortunate for that to also have been given to me. Living in community, living in an intentional community, creates space for fear, creates space for anger, creates space for vulnerability. For myself, my parents. My father lost his father one day. 6 days later, my mother lost her mother. And I took off to their house, and I held space for my parents for days, talking with them, telling stories, being there for them, making sure they had food, making sure my mom was okay. My grandmother was her heart. And when I finally came home after being away for days, I got a knock on the door, and it was one of my community mates, Lauren. She says, "Hey, the women are going to come together tonight. We're going to go out to the nest. You should come." "Oh, Lauren, I'm so tired right now. I'm just exhausted." And she's like, "No, you should come." And so I'm like, okay, another one of those community commitments, you know. We have a lot of meetings. So anyway, I walk out to the nest. The nest is this big, beautiful wooden nest, and we have what is transformed into a vagina fire pit right in the middle. It's the perfect place for women to gather. And as I came up, all the women at Evo, all the women were there. They're already there. A fire is going, and I was like, did I get the freaking time wrong? I hate being late. And I walk in, and they're all looking at me. And so they said, "Bianca," well, after smudging me, enter into the nest. And they said to me, "Bianca, how are you?" Girls, I'm so tired. I'm fine. I've just been there for my parents, and things are this, things are that, and they're just staring at me. And they're like, "I'm sorry. How are you?" And it just came. I'd never been granted permission to experience suffering, my own suffering. And it was one of the most profound experiences of living in community, and it's scary. Oh, God, you guys. It could be so scary. It could be so scary because sometimes you feel like you're in a consistent intervention program. I kid you not. And so I want us to walk away with these tangibles. I want us to walk away, and I want you to make a commitment to learning different techniques of real communication. The way we communicate with our friends, with our relatives, and very much so with our children, is the way that we leave a legacy of love, is the way that we leave a legacy of self-respect and self-joy. We let them know that they are seen, and most importantly, that they are really, really heard. We have to do that as a community. Go to the Ojai Foundation, go to your seminars, go to Tony Robbins, go to wherever it is. Because the better that we have community, the better communities we have are a reflection of how much better our communication is. Now, living in an intentional community, it's very challenging. It's the human dynamic. It's not all, community dinners and, throwing frisbees and, kumbaya. It's real. It's really real. I really hope that one day all of us will be able to say, "I know that I am loved by so-and-so because they have seen me at my absolute worst more often than once, more often than twice, and they still love me. I am truly seen."